Now that we've introduced why GitHub and Git are useful to you, we're going to go into how to set up these tools with RStudio. So this video assumes that you've already installed or updated our RStudio and our tools, and that you've configured a personal package library. If you haven't done these things yet, you might want to go back to those other videos and go through those steps. So in this video, I'll be showing 5 steps. First, just setting up a GitHub account, installing Git on your computer, configuring Git with your GitHub account, and adding Git as a path variable, which is only necessary in Windows, and then configuring Git within RStudio desktop. And the mechanics of how to use Git will be in another video, but this is just the basic setup steps. So that's all I have as terms of slides. I'm switching over here to my sandbox system where I have installed R and RStudio and our tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up a GitHub account, which is pretty straightforward. You just go to github.com and follow the link for sign up, which, also down here. And once you click sign up, let's see, I click it. Oh, there we go. You can use your Google or Apple credentials. I just recommend making a new username and password. So for this step, I already have an account, so I'm not going to fill this all out. But you'll just have to remember the email and the username for another step. But um, once that's created, so those credentials will come in later. So the next thing, step 2, is installing the Git software. I've I have the link to this in the description. I'm just copying it into my browser. So this is an open source software, and you could also just go to like Google Git, go to git-scm.com and go to this install tab, and then you just choose your operating system. So I'm working on a Windows computer. Um, and this one, you just click up here to download the latest version for Windows. Unless you have a different system like an ARM system, um, this is probably what you'll use. So I'm just going to click there. And this, similar to installing R, is just an executable file. So I'm gonna open it, and or you can also navigate to your downloads if it doesn't show up in your browser. Um, so, you have your license. Um, it's an open source license. I mean, you can read it if you want to. I don't think there's committing to anything too terrible. This is showing where Git is going to set up. So this is usually a good default place to keep it. Here, there are components. I'm just gonna keep the defaults. Start menu, okay. And I should say Git has a few more things to click through than our Studio did. There's one thing that will change from the defaults. So it's just this one step where it's what would you like Git to name the initial branch after Git init? Um, so for that, I'm just going to switch the default to override the default branch name. This might not make sense to you yet, but it will once you start working with GitHub repositories. So it's now more common for people to use main as the top branch. So I'm just going to keep that. Next, here I'm just going to keep the recommended setting. Um, I just assume the recommended's okay. I don't really understand that option, but yeah. Another thing that I don't quite understand, but I'll keep the default same. Um, sure. Get credential manager, okay. Okay. And now that's just going to take a minute or so to install. Da, 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 da. Not quite slow enough to pause the recording, but we'll just watch this lovely green bar advance. Almost there. All right, there we go. And this, now we're at the end of this. So the next step to setting up Git actually involves this program called Git Bash. So I'm just going to go ahead and launch it now. You can also find it from your programs folder. So I'm going to click launch. So Git Bash is just a command line interface for the Git software. You won't really need to use it routinely. There's just one setup step that is easier to do through the command line. So I have the exact commands in the written instructions that are linked in the YouTube video, but it's basically this step is to tell Git is to connect to Git with your username on GitHub so it knows that you're posting as you and can connect you with your computer with your GitHub account. So there's just two commands. See, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so hopefully it's a little bit bigger. Um, First one is just git config dash dash global user dot name. And then at the end, so this is saying git is saying, okay, this is a git command, config, we're configuring, um, and this is a global variable on your computer, and then username. So this is the username that Git recognizes for GitHub. And for me, my GitHub username is KE Muller. So you put whatever your username is. So I just press enter. And now we do it one more time. If you press the up arrow, you actually get the exact same line from before. We're just going to edit a small part of it. So instead of username, it will be user email, and then use the email address that you used to make your GitHub account. So for me, this is Catherine.miller2010 at gmail.com. Press enter. And yeah, that's all I have to do to get Git and GitHub to speak to each other. And then if you're using Windows, there's one extra little step involving the path variables. So if you set up a custom R package library, you may have interacted with this before. There's various ways of finding it. I mean, if you enter environment variable into the search bar, it'll come up. You can also find it from the control panel. System, let's see. I always have a hard time finding it from here, so I just maybe just go to environment. Yeah, edit environment um, variables. Okay. So this is something that I think would require administrator access on your computer. So if you don't have administrator access, you can probably skip this step. So we'll see. So I'm going to go to environmental variables. So before you added, I added this rlibs user path for my R library. So that you can see that there. For this step, you actually want to edit the path variable in your system. So this is just a bunch of places where software will look for other software, basically. So this tells RStudio where to find GitHub, or sorry, where to find Git. So I'm just going to edit this, and there's already a path here for the git uh, cmd. I think that's the command line, maybe. Um, so that should be there. If it's not, you should add it. So I'm just going to add one more, which is will be the path to the git binary. So it should be the same dash git dash. bin. So this is actually like should be in the same folder here, but it's just bin, and we can even confirm it by looking in our uh, the brow what are they called? Oh, the Explorer, yeah. Um, C da, 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 program files, Git, and you see here, and this is where the Git software is installed, and it has a bunch of other, folders. So there's we see CMD, we see bin. So those should both be in our environment variable. So I've added it. Just click OK, um, and then close. So now we just want the last step is just to make sure it's configured correctly within RStudio. So I'm going to close this, open up RStudio. All right. So at this step, all I'm going to do is just check that everything's set up correctly. So I'm going to go to Global Options, and on the left here, looking for Git SVN. I just want to ensure that version control interface for RStudio projects is enabled, and that this points to a file called git.exe within this git bin folder that we just set up in the path variable. If for some reason you can't edit your path variable, like if you don't have administrator access, you should be able to edit this manually to point to this git.exe file. So there's a few other things in here that we're not going to worry about right now, but you could find more information about them in the version control with RStudio help. So yeah, I don't need to change anything. So I'm just going to click OK. And now I am ready to start using Git and GitHub with RStudio. So we will do that next.